Hello everyone, there is a very interesting article on Substack by Jane Prescott, and the title of this article is "What if the Krasnov theory is right?" So let's have a look at it. When I first wrote about the Krasnov theory, the idea that Donald Trump might have been cultivated by Russian intelligence under a KGB codename, I approached it with the same suspicion any sane person would bring to a claim that sounds like it was pulled from the writer's room of The Americans. It's TV series, I think. Yes, the theory was seductive. Yes, there were crumbs worth picking at. But no, I didn't fully buy it. Still, I let myself chase the what if, and then there is a link to the article about what if. The story never left me, because even if it isn't true, even if Trump isn't some coward Russian asset, the question remains, if he were, what would the evidence look like? I used to think the evidence would have to be big, obvious. A smoking gun in a safe, an intercepted call. But what if it is subtler than that? What if it is hiding in plain sight? Or worse, disguised as incoherence, incompetence, or randomness? And now I can't stop thinking about Russia's absence from Trump's tariff blitz. Let's review. Yesterday, Trump rolled out one of the most sweeping tariff program in the US history. Over 100 countries were hit, from China and Germany to tiny islands in the Pacific that can barely field a customs agent. But one country was missing, Russia. Yes, you read it right. Russia, America's primary geopolitical adversary, still entrenched in war against US-backed Ukraine, was left off the list. The White House claimed there was no point in adding Russia. Zero trade, they said. Existing sanctions had already crippled commerce between our two countries. Except that's not true. According to the 2025 US Trade Estimate report, bilateral trade between the United States and Russia still amounted to $5.2 billion last year. Russia was still exporting key commodities like fertilizers and aluminium to the United States. And it is not said there, but also quite a lot of uranium oil or uranium fuel already, enriched to be a fuel grade. And aluminium to the United States, products critical to our agriculture and manufacturing sectors. In fact, we imported more from Russia than from Australia. Let me put that differently. Russia trades more with the United States than some of the countries that did get hit with tariffs. So, why the exemption? The White House claims it's symbolic. Sanctions have supposedly done the job already. But again, if that's the case, why not at least gesture as at parity and add Russia to the list anyway, like we did for another 60 countries? You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to find that odd. You just have to be paying attention. Trump's behavior towards Russia has long-raised eyebrows, not just for warmth, but for persistent, suspicious patterns that defy normal diplomatic logic. We saw it in his refusal to criticize the Russian president even after confirmed election interference in 2016. We saw it in the private Oval Office conversation he had with Russian officials, with no United States interpreter present. We saw it when Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman, was caught sharing internal polling data with Russian operative during their campaign. We saw it in his first term. Even amid the US intelligence report of Russian cyber attacks, Trump shut down a key CIA program aimed at stopping Russian influence in Syria. We saw it when Trump met privately with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki in 2018 with no American interpreter or aides present, raising alarm through the intelligence community. The secrecy of this conversation, Trump's refusal to share any notes or details afterwards, remains one of the most baffling moments in the modern US diplomacy. And then there is the long view, the slow drip of pro-Russia sentiments, the shifting explanations, and ever-changing tone. You can track it all in this running timeline of Trump's statement on Russia. So there is a link to this. And the link to this article I will put in the description so you can follow all these links and to see all the material. It is not fiction. It is the record, the track of timeline of Trump's statement on Russia, and mostly it was favorable statement. Fast forward to now. Trump is in his second term. Putin is still grinding away in Ukraine, and Trump, he wasted no time. Early in the year, he floated the idea of expanding United States territory, not metaphorically, but literally. Greenland, Canada, even the Panama Canal. In March, Trump stood before Congress and declared, "We need Greenland for national security and even international security. One way or another, we are going to get it." He also suggested the United States should take back control of the Panama Canal. Canada, he said offhandedly, had too many resources to be left alone. It sounded ludicrous, but maybe that's the point. Float the fringe ideas, normalize expansionism, blur the moral line. So when Putin makes a play for more Ukrainian territory, or for Moldova, or Kazakhstan, he can shrug and say, "Don't blame me for doing what America dreams of." In parallel, Trump began floating the idea of lifting sanctions on Russia, but only if Putin agreed to a ceasefire that would effectively freeze the war along the current front lines. The terms would leave Ukraine boxed in, weakened, and without any of the territorial concessions it needs to rebuild sovereignty. In the short term, Russia got exactly what it needed. A reprieve, especially for its battered energy infrastructure, where Western strikes had begun to hit critical power generation. I don't know where she took this. There were no Western strikes, there were Ukrainian strikes, and mostly not on power generation, but on oil refineries, or oil transportation, oil pipelines, oil pumping stations, such things. What looked like diplomacy was, in substance, a bailout. It wasn't negotiation, it was submission. And Putin didn't need to lift a finger. Earlier this year, Trump has reportedly ordered the United States Cyber Command to halt offensive operations against Russia, a classified directive that stunned officials and gave Moscow breathing room in cyberspace. With nothing in return, they are still attacking us. The move looked like a one-sided cyber truce. Then came the tariffs. Trump unleashed one of the most destructive global trade offensives in modern memory, but Russia curiously spared. Trump's Liberation Day tariff blitz, a global gut punch masquerading as economic justice, landed like a hammer. A baseline 10% duty hit nearly every trading partner with steeper penalties for the usual suspects. The Dow shed over 1,600 points in a single day, its worst drop since the pandemic years, as investors blinked at the sheer scale of economic self-sabotage, and it's still dropping as I write this. China responded within hours, slapping retaliatory tariffs on all American goods. And that's likely just the beginning. Europe is bracing, Japan is fuming, Canada is livid. A global trade war is no longer a possibility, it is a headline. And just as markets are collapsing, Trump fires the head of the NSA. The very official who had recently warned that Russia was targeting encrypted communications like Signal. At a time when US cyber defenses were already stretched thin, the X came down. Yes, the Signal app. We reported on how national security has been dangerously reduced to group chats and why it matters here. So link to the article. If Putin had compromised on Trump, if Trump was Krasnov, this would be the moment. Go for broke, but not in a blaze, in increments, bit by bit. Weaken NATO, check. Shatter alliances, check. Rattle global trade with tariffs that spare only Russia, check. Halt offensive cyber operation against Moscow, check. Appoint a pro-Russia Secretary of Defense, Director of National Intelligence, and Vice President, check. Fire the NSA chief after he warns about Russian espionage, check. Echo expansionist fantasies about Greenland, Canada, and the Panama Canal, legitimizing the very territorial grabs Putin is condemned for, check. Ukraine left against the wall, check. Allies blindsided, US security unguarded, check. This isn't just chaos, it's choreography. And if it's not Putin pulling the strings, it's someone dancing to his tune. And sometimes people say he's just crazy, but I never said that crazy person went only crazy for Putin, not for the other side. You see how it is very convenient that he is only crazy if it comes to Putin, to help Putin. So, what's next? American Civil War or American collapse? So I go back to the question that haunts me. When is the long-awaited coup de grace? Or has it already begun? Let me be clear, I'm still skeptical on the full Krasnov theory. It may be an elaborate mirage fed by the internet's appetite for intrigue. But even if Trump isn't a secret Russian agent, his behavior can't be waved off as random anymore, because it's not random. It's only it's only favorable towards Russia. When you look at the long arc from the whispers in 1985 to the maneuvers of 2025, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. And now Russia's free pass in Trump's tariff crusade, it isn't just an economic quirk, it feels like a message. Or maybe, just maybe, it is the answer to a question we've been afraid to ask. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, and Slava Ukraini!